All right. I'm going to start by playing the intros for all the starts, the scenarios that you can begin the game with.
Tired of waiting for shuttles? Want to fly wherever you want, whenever you want? Then what you need is a pilot's license. And what's the best place to get one? That's right, Jace Winger's Flight School. I do theory, I do practice, and I'm licensed for weapons training. With my tried and tested training course, you'll be an ace pilot in no time, guaranteed. Success not guaranteed. No liability in case of explosion, plug trauma, exsanguination, asphyxiation, or rapid decompression.
Sounds great. No voiceover with this one. It's just looks like it's just testing, showing you how combat can work. Yeah, this one.
The connection that binds us as an interstellar community is fragile, even tenuous. Nothing has proved that more than the jump gate shutdown and the resultant turmoil. As the Alliance of the Word, we strive to strengthen the bond between the peoples inhabiting our galaxy, and you too shall do your part.
Funny, this one's disabled.
With the successful connection of the Kingdom End jump gate, we are once again reunited with at least some of our lost kin. A great rift within our people can now begin to heal. But our systems, once drifting in the dark, now also connect to the Commonwealth. Diplomatic relations must be established with its peoples, old and new. For this task, your queen calls upon you, her heralds.
I do wonder what that's all about.
The Vigor Syndicate, you say? Well, of course I can answer a few questions, officer. Protectors of Windfall, they call themselves, and their protection is something that upstanding business people tend to pay good credit for. Nothing in the system happens without their knowledge. Any transaction, physical or virtual, that passes through, it's safe to assume they know about it. There is no money laundering that I'm aware of at the present time, no. Large-scale financial transfers, yes, but they're for the most part limited to generous loans to the needy over an avarice. What's that? Runners? I don't think you should pay those rumors any attention, officer. Under the Syndicate's watch, there has been no smuggling of illicit substances for as long as I can remember.
Have I ever told you about the time we went head-to-head with an armada of pirate hunters? Oh yes, things were going all sorts of sideways. Then a second, humongous fleet showed up. In a blinding revelation from the Holy Triangularity itself, one of us had the idea to... Actually, this won't make sense unless I wind back a bit further. So bear with me. I was in something of a spot of bother when this dashing young scoundrel single-handedly overwhelmed the entire guard detail of a Ministry of Finance military station.
Yeah.
In the aftermath of the escalating tensions between the United Space Command and the Commonwealth, culminating in the destruction of the Taurus Eternal, the people of the solar system welcomed the seclusion the Jumpgate shutdown brought with it. In isolation, they prospered, and soon began to heal, putting the traumatic events of the past behind themselves. After an initial period of instability, the USC government was restructured, and out of the wreckage of the old, the Terran Protectorate was born. Now, having re-established contact with the Gate Network, we, the Protectorate, are the shield valiantly standing between its inhabitants and the Xenon menace. The other factions may not recognize us as Supreme Protectors just yet, but they will.
They will.
The mission statement of the Pioneer Initiative was to expand the Terran sphere of influence past Sol's gates. Refugee communities suddenly stranded when the gates were disconnected, along with disenfranchised people born on the outer rim of Sol, were brought together under the banner of expanding into the unknown. At first, it was merely a tool established by the Terran government with the express intent of keeping these disparate groups at arm's length, and to create another protective buffer between Sol and the Gate Network. Ever since their inception, however, these resolute pioneers ceaselessly fought to loosen the Terran's grip over the organization, in order to turn it into something truly inspiring and independent.
The Great Jump Gate shutdown plunged many lesser civilizations into chaos. As fringe families of the Ronkar Patriarchy started losing their sectors, Great Ronkar Tinkent, Patriarch of all Split, ignored his subjects' demands for relief. Instead, he chose to stay silent, arming himself against the inevitable rebellion. When the network ultimately unraveled, our people persevered. Liberated from cruel imperial taxation, we free families could finally rebuild our realms, each under the reign of our own patriarch. Now the gates have reconnected, and the oppression of old has returned. Zyarth, claiming to be patriarch of all Split, is invading our realms to enrich himself on our economy and purge our identity. This the free patriarchs will not allow.
Right.
While Patriarch Ronkar failed his subjects, Patriarch Zyart made a name for himself fighting the Xenon. When the jump gate shutdown disconnected the realms, Zyart the Provident prevented the split families around him from drifting apart. After the gate realigned, Zyart the Undying had outlived all but wrecked TKR from the Patriarchs of old. Now it is time to pick up the shards of Ronkar's empire and follow the Torex's steps as High Patriarch Zyart shall unify all Split once again. We will welcome them all, outcast, exiles, and even the accursed, back into Split society.
Even after everything that has struck over the last few decades, the Terran conflict, the Xenon, and the jump gates shutdown, the Argon Federation has established itself as a key power in this new jump gate network. And even its most distant colony, Black Hole Sun, is a hub of trade and community. Opportunities are aplenty for all. Every day, scores of young pilots set out from the system for the first time, on their way to find adventure among the stars.
Dear Eulolios Sanduras Ruziris 11, you never were the shiniest egg in the clutch. Your piloting abilities were overshadowed by your egg sibling, Ruziris 5. Your lack of management skills put to shame by Ruziris 9. And you didn't show as much interest in my endeavors as Ruziris 2. Your brazen display of financial incompetence was quite a disappointment. But now, as the final balance is calculated and nothing else matters anymore, I finally understand that your interests lay elsewhere.
That one starts out with a transport, so you can and some money, so you could actually begin trading immediately.
We live in dark times. For centuries, the Paranid lived in peace. Strife between us was a relic of the past. So dependent are we on the Pontifex that when the jump gate shut down and the Pontifex could not contact us, chaos ensued. Life fell into ruin. We searched desperately for guidance, some even going as far to birth new leaders, each with their own perspective, each with their own ambitions. When the jump gates realigned, it could only end in conflict. Each pontifex believed they were in the right, each unwilling to back down. Civil war was simply a matter of time.
Hmm.
The jump gate shutdown is now defined as the single most important event in the history of the network, a disaster of cataclysmic proportion that changed everything, redefining our very way of life. Despite all of the odds, however, we have come through the other side, and along the way have found more to research and explore than ever before. That is the area in which we pride ourselves, the Alliance of the Word, founded on the idea that those disconnected from the Jumpgate network could be saved. We strive to find out more for the good of all of us.
Interesting. So this one, Untested Explorer, seems to be related to Emergence, which is also Alliance of the Word. And of course, these two at the top here, Kingdom End, are the ones that just got added today.
Ah, yes. The Adventures of Celia Taryn. My most brilliant and distinguished assistant. From a young age, I dare presume, she yearned to explore the unknown and uncover the mysteries of our universe. Indeed, it may appear as if we had a lot in common back then. We surveyed anomalies in time and space, brought about the materialization of a unique and special station, almost intentionally, and escaped from the vicious machinations of one pair of particularly unpleasant split fellows. And that was only the start of the excitement.
Yeah, my impression is that the accomplished scientists start. What that essentially does is pretty much skips the first 5 hours of Young Gun, because Young Gun here, that starts you out really from scratch with no direction at all. It's just, you're in your ship, it's a starter ship, you have no money or hardly any, and you go off and figure out what the game's about. Where this one is that, but it skips to ahead for people who want to start a new game, I guess, without going through all that starter stuff again. For what X4 is doing with these starts is you're all dumped into the exact same universe. Every single one of these starts will put you into the same scenario, overall, the big picture. But it's a very complex universe with lots and lots of different factions and motivations, and the situation is not the same for everybody. So all of these different starts basically gives you a chance to begin with a different perspective on starting the whole journey. And after a short while, you'll have the exact same things that you can do as the other starts. So you'll come across the same missions, meet the same people ultimately, but you might begin with different reputations. So, for example, if you start with the Terran Cadet or Project Genesis, you will start off with an advantage in terms of your reputation with the Terrans. But if you start off with Young Gun as an Argon, you probably have a pretty bad reputation with the Terrans to begin with. And you can always change your reputation by doing things in the game. But because, so the starts actually do matter, even though the part of it that's custom, for that start is not very long, it has a big impact on how your whole game goes. Next, I'm going to be going over the mods that I've picked for Kingdom End, and I haven't tested them yet. I haven't even loaded up a new game yet to see how it goes, but I'm going to list the mods that I'm using, and when I verify that they work, we'll just kind of go forward and see, if something doesn't work, I won't use it, I'll uninstall it, but these are the mods that I've picked. So to kick things off, we have sector satellites. I consider this pretty much an essential mod because in X4, you put down a satellite if you want to have real-time updated information on whatever's in the zone of the satellite. So the satellite gets put down in space and there's a zone around it in space that goes out several kilometers in every direction, and any station that's nearby, it will update your trade info with whatever is going on at the station. If you let a few hours go by without getting updated information from a satellite, or by flying near the station yourself, then you won't be able to trade with that station or automate trades because you won't have the market information that you need. So it's a pretty extensive mod, really. I think it's very important. They've added a few new kinds of satellites. It looks like 4. Yeah, these are really cool, like hostile detection satellite. I've never actually used this one. Well, it's probably a good idea to get to know it. Interdiction probe, that sounds really cool, but I've never used one. Survey unit. I have not used these, but they sound very handy for finding things. Sometimes I've kind of preferred to find things on my own using just the ship scanner, but you can buy a survey unit and discover things in a sector quicker, I guess. Resource survey unit, I have used these. They are really handy for marking down the good spots to do mining. So you put down a resource survey unit and it will drop resource probes in the larger or more dense ore patches or gas patches in the sector. Pirate cover detection. Oh, really? I didn't even know this one existed. Oh, it's part of the config. So when enabled in the config file, the setting allows your advanced satellites and your hostile detection satellites to uncover ships with neutral or worse relations in systems you have a station in. Oh, in systems you have a station in. Okay, that's very specific. Exists to avoid issues that may arise with cover in plot quests. Ah, yes. So really good mod, highly recommended. If you don't use sector satellites, what you'll find is that the game is just a lot more tedious because you're having to drop literally hundreds and hundreds of satellites, and they can be destroyed, which means that, you know, you might have to drop them again in certain places. The main thing that this does is it makes it so, you know, like the main function you'll find the most useful is that you drop an advanced satellite down and it will automatically locate all the stations in the sector. Where's it talk about? Yeah, okay. So non-hostile stations. So if they are hostile stations, you won't get information on those. Yeah, it sends out these little probes that they reveal the fog of war right around the station, not too wide, so you don't get the whole sector uncovered or anything. And once you've gotten those down, you can actually pick up your advanced satellite, since stations don't move, so they stay on the map even if you go away and come back. So you can pick up your advanced satellite again, and then you can put down regular satellites to get updated prices. Now, where does it talk about? Regular satellites will give you an entire sector like everywhere that you know there's a station, you'll be able to see the updated prices and market information for the entire sector, not just the little area around the satellite. But only if you know only if you know the station is there, which is why you have to put down the advanced one first. So very, very highly recommended. At first, you might feel, oh, this is cheaty. It's kind of cheaty, a little bit feeling too easy. But when you really get farther into the game, you have, I mean, there's like 120. I think there's over 120 sectors, and each sector has quite a few stations. And I think you'll find that if you actually want to play the game and enjoy it and do things rather than just keep maintaining your satellites, this mod will help with that. Next up is friendly fire tweaks. Friendly fire is a bit annoying in this game. Like, let's say that you're fighting a bad guy and you're dogfighting and you're shooting and you accidentally get a stray shot and it hits the station that you're flying around. Oh no, the station got hit by one of your shots. Well, that can cause trouble. Or if you're fighting with allies where you're not coordinated, but let's say you're fighting some Xenon and there's some Argon nearby and they're not with you, but they're allied with you. And so they're fighting the same Xenon you are. So you're all in dogfights together, and then you hit the Argon, and then the Argon gets all angry with you, saying, okay, now you aggressed against me, and this is bad. And they might actually fire back, or things like that. So, or I think even if you cause an explosion that damages other ships, which is very easy to do because exploding ships do cause area damage. Now, with this mod, 1, the victim is targeted. 2, the shields are less than 25%. 3, the damage is from your main guns. Because let's face it, it matters if it's your main guns or your turrets, because your turrets just do their own thing. Your turrets can very easily lob accidental fire in a friendly direction, and you don't want to get in trouble for that. So this is a good mod to have. Next is improved repair laser, and this is when you're in your spacesuit and you want to repair the hull of a ship, probably your ship, and honestly, it's the default is 2 hit points. I think it's per second. It's really, really slow. The repair is ridiculously slow with your repair laser, which makes it really hard to do repairs, unless you can fly all the way back to an equipment dock and pay for repairs there. Range is quadrupled from 25 meters to 100 meters, because let's face it, 25 meters is pretty close in space, and 2 hit points is nothing. So they've actually turned repair lasers into something reasonable with this mod. So that's that one. Next up is Stop Destroying My Boarding Target. It's just a very strangely titled mod. And what this mod does is it manages a very annoying feature in this game. When there's a ship that's in combat with other ships, usually the military will come along and help destroy the bad guy. But when you want to board a large ship, or an extra large ship for that matter, you hope that it doesn't actually get destroyed. And normally when you're boarding a ship, there's a procedure, right? You have to fire on the ship. You have to get his hull down to a certain point, depending on your choices. You have to send out your boarding pods. which have your Marines, and they will enter the ship and they will fight with the crew of that ship, and then they will take it over and it will be your ship. And it takes a long time for the Marines to do the fight. It takes a long time for the boarding pods to attach. Everything takes time. And all the while, if it's just you and your ships, you will tell your ships to stop firing on the target during the phase when the Marines are fighting the internal battle. You don't want ships continuing to fire on the ship that's being boarded. However, the problem is that the NPCs that are out in the world are going to still shoot at your boarding target, whether or not you're boarding. So in their perspective, in their mind, it's a hostile ship. It needs to be destroyed. And just because you happen to be there and you happen to be trying to board this ship so you can take it for yourself, they might be like, well, I don't care. And so they're just going to keep hammering on your target. And very likely, and I mean really very, very likely, destroy it before your Marines finish the boarding process, which ends up just killing your Marines and destroying the ship that you wanted, and you get nothing, all because some idiot destroyer has decided that he wants to take that ship out. So what this mod does is it doesn't just stop the boarding, because that would be, it doesn't just stop them from shooting targets that are being boarded. That would be rather dull. What this mod does is extremely clever. What it does is it adds a dialogue option to your comms. So you see that an NPC is firing on the target that you're boarding, and you can comm the ship that's doing the firing. It's your ally, and it'll come up with all the options. You get your dialogue box and you can choose which thing you want to ask of them. And one of the options now is to please stop firing on my boarding target. And they might not. They might just keep firing on it. And now, according to the mod thing here, the description says the NPC pilot can refuse when player's relation with NPC pilot's faction is lower than 10, and also when more than a third of the boarding target's turrets are still operational. So what that means is that if you really want them to stop killing your boarding target, first you need to be allied with the faction that's doing the firing, at least 10. And second, you need to have no more than a third of the target's turrets still operational. And this says that there's a little bit of a delay, and that the delay, up to 10 seconds, depends on relation. So higher the relation, the smaller the delay. This is a very nice mod. I actually used it, or tried to use it, when I was doing boarding operations, but because my faction relations were 8, I think, at the time with the Ministry of Finance, they said, we're not stopping. And they just kept firing on it and kept firing on it, and eventually destroyed the ship. So this is a fair and good mod because it adds an important functionality to the game. More options, more dialogue with NPCs that help things go how you'd think they would go. So that's that one. Next up is the Encounters mod. This one does a redo of the encounter mechanism. So what the encounter mechanism in X4 is when you're flying around in space, it's very likely that there won't be anybody there. Now, in the universe in X4, usually every ship that you find, that you encounter, is there for a reason. It's going someplace, it's doing something, it was built by someone, it's owned by someone, and it's got a job to do. So if you happen to be in space where there aren't any, Egosoft has decided that it's good to help you feel like space isn't so uninhabited that it's going to pluck some ships from part of the universe and drop them near you to give you the impression that things are happening around you. It's a bit artificial, but what I understand is it's not just spawning a ship. It doesn't just create the ship out of nothing. It actually removes it from somewhere else in the universe and puts it in front of you or near you. And this encounter mechanism has a few problems by default. So what this mod does is it kind of reworks it. This mod changes this annoying behavior. Once you leave a busy part of a sector, the game engine starts to jump small groups of enemy ships out of thin air right alongside you every 60 seconds or so, one group after another endlessly. Yeah, that is annoying. So it adds more variance to it. And the variance, I think, is the key here in this mod. It's got a pretty extensive change log. So you can kind of see, if you go to this mod page, you can see all the different things that he's changed to the encounters. Some of them create new encounters, new kinds of encounters that might even be more challenging than the ones you find in vanilla. So, but rarely, you don't want space to be annoying to explore, especially when all you have is your starter ship which is like a scout, and you can't even stand up to a fight with like a Xenon fighter or even one. You don't want to encounter one because it's going to screw up your exploration. So that's this mod. So now on to the Steam mods. All right, here's the mods that I'm subscribed to on Steam. Let's go over these. Fire and Smoke. This is a visual mod. This is a very, very nice mod. What it does is improves the look of explosions and fire and smoke that's in space when you damage or destroy other ships. There is potentially a crash that happens. I reported a crash 3 weeks ago, I'd say. And I don't know if it was caused by this mod or not, but according to the crash log, it probably was. But other people say it's working just fine. So I'm going to try it again. We'll see how this looks. Dead Air Dynamic Wars. I haven't tried this one out yet, but this looks pretty neat. Scripted events that set intervals that change relations between two AI factions. The stronger a faction is, the more enemies it will likely have. The weaker faction is, the more friends it will likely have, which is a really neat dynamic, honestly. It means that all the factions in the game will still have a fighting chance to exist, and there won't be like everyone ganging up on one faction until they're brought to extinction, because if they're weak, they will there's little events that will cause people to ally with them, and if they're super strong and kind of dominating, then they're going to have a lot of conflict and a lot of challenge, but they can handle it because they're super strong. Notification and small fictional event that cause, ooh, that's kind of neat. So that it kind of makes a story out of it, if I understand this correctly. Yeah, and informational menus. I wonder how you get to them. Like these menus. I mean, honestly, that looks really cool. Increase relations. Yeah, I want to try this mod out. No idea how good it is, but it looks like it's worth trying. Sir Nuke's mod support APIs is required for Dynamic Wars, so that's the only reason I have that. Equipment modifications redone. This is one I want to try. I haven't tried it yet. I was using a no RNG mod for equipment. So what equipment is in your ships, you can actually modify your ships in game using equipment that you craft at crafting terminals and equipment modification terminals. So you go to the shipyard or the wharf, and you have your ship parked there, and you have crafting materials in your inventory, your personal inventory, and you go to the terminal and you craft. It'll show you what you can craft, and you can put those modifications into your ship, and they will alter certain features of your ship. You can, but this is just the one ship. So you can have other ships that are identical to that one, and they don't have the mod because you only put it on the one ship. So the main problem with equipment modifications in X4 is RNG. So it's got a random number generator. And right here in the description, you can see the annoyance. It says, "Are you tired of re-rolling your weapon modifications for the 100th time just to get a decent roll? Do you think that gear with random stats belong in looter shooters, but not in your beloved X universe? Then I might just got the thing for you. Let me introduce you to equipment modifications redone." That's a good summary. This mod rebalances the equipment modifications. Apparently, it makes them, it makes them work better, because what the mod I was using was to just get rid of the RNG. So if you have a random chance of between 20 and 50% improvement on your main gun, for example, with the mod that I was using, it guarantees 50%, which can be a bit unbalanced because it gives you stuff that's probably too powerful for, the RNG is meant to kind of average it out. But the problem with RNG, of course, is that you could very easily get a really crappy roll. And then you might say, well, I'm just going to reload and then try it again. And that's really annoying. So I want to try this one. This one looks better than the one I was using. Remove station dock glow, which is very strange. And I haven't actually tried this, but in space, for some reason, the docks have a glow around them. And like the Xenon ones have a red glow and Allied ones have a blue glow. It's like, why is there a glow? It doesn't look right. So it removes that. This suggests that that the mod might actually explicitly remove the glow for specific stations, but then any DLC that's come out since this mod was updated will still have the glow, but better to remove some than none, I guess. All old docks works perfectly fine. Okay, so I will try that one, but we might still get some glow, especially for the boron stuff. Who knows? Sane office ambience. It's just, all this does is remove some of the repetitive beeping that are in your personal office in the player headquarters. And I can see that being good. So I'm going to use that one. Crystal cooldown remover. Now, this is something that I think is pretty important, because when the game first came out, crystals, the crystals that you find in the asteroids, they're randomly spawned what type of crystal it is. So there's probably, I can't remember, 5 or 6, maybe 7 different kinds of crystals. And the more common ones are not worth so much, and the really, really rare ones are worth quite a lot. And what they figured was that people were making too much money with crystals, so they've put a cooldown in it. And what the cooldown means is that when you find a valuable crystal and you collect it, all the crystals that show up after that for a while will be only the cheapest ones, which is very artificial, and I hate this artificial crap. It's dumbing down the mechanic of crystal hunting. And crystals, let's face it, crystals are already hard enough to find. You know, you have to look for that tiny little glint. And what this mod does is it removes the cooldown. So if you find a valuable crystal that's rare, there is still a chance to find another valuable crystal that's rare, instead of a 0% chance to find, and until the cooldown finishes, which is, again, I can't stress enough, it's really dumb in the real world. I mean, imagine if you were like a miner and you found a gem, you found a good gem in a riverbed, and because you found a diamond, now then everything else in the river is going to be garbage for the next half hour, and then all of a sudden you'll be able to find the good stuff again. Yeah, that's I'm not gonna deal with that. There is also another mod that I have tried that I'm not going to use anymore, and that is the crystal glow, where a crystal will give off a light, like a colored glow around it that shines off of the asteroid that it's connected to make it easier to spot. And really, it's a lot easier to spot. You can't miss it. You're seeing crystals everywhere. And the reason for that is because crystals really are everywhere. It's just that ordinarily they're really hard to spot. So what that mod did was make them very obvious. And I found that it was too obvious. It was like I could go crystal farming and I could hunt down valuable crystals, really quick. You pick up one, you pick up the next, you pick up the next. You're not really searching. They're just everywhere. So what that tells me is that crystals actually are quite common, but they sometimes seem super rare because you just aren't seeing the glint. And let's be clear, when you're looking at an asteroid field and you're just watching it, your eye is going to be on different parts of the screen. And if your eye is over here and the glint is over there, you're very likely going to miss it. But if you're watching it in a video, like let's say I'm recording a video, and somebody did this in my comments section for some reason, they're like, "Oh, we spotted two that you missed." I'm thinking, well, the reason I missed is because my eye was over there and the glint was over there. That's normal. So X4 does it. It's really, really clever, I think, to kind of, it doesn't handhold you, it lets you spot these little tiny glints based on, where you happen to be looking, and you very well could miss it. And that's just normal. But yeah, crystals are quite common. But I don't like the cooldown, so I'm removing that. Escape teleport. This is a pretty simple mod. So if you're in a ship and the ship gets destroyed, you will instantly be put in another one of your ships, and you carry on the game. Now, most of the time when your ship is destroyed, you're going to probably want to reload because it's probably an important ship that's you don't want to lose. But it is also common that you will be in a big fight with many of your ships in the same fight. And what ends up happening is you might say, well, I want to hop in a fighter and I want to start taking on Xenon or whatever, and you're flying around and you get hit by a stray missile and all of a sudden you're dead and it's game over and you have to reload and you've just lost a half hour. So because you happen to be flying around in a fighter that gets hit one-shotted. It's really common to lose fighters in a big battle. So why would you have to, you accept the loss of the fighter, but you don't want to reload. So instead of it being game over, you're just transported to a different ship and you can carry on the fight. So very, very nice. Just simple mod to be able to avoid having to reload if you happen to be in a small ship that gets too easily shot. Tater Trade. This is one of my favorite mods. Such a useful mod. So what this mod does is it in your trading ships. So you have a freighter or cargo carrier of some kind, and you tell your pilot to auto trade. So he's going to run around and he's going to auto trade, and because the game AI is not the best in certain ways, it doesn't really do very efficient trades. You might have discovered a station that has a product for really cheap, and that another station that you found wants for a lot of money. So naturally, you would want your trade ships to automatically buy from this one and sell to this one. But in the vanilla auto trade, it might completely miss that. So this mod is a really, really good non-cheating auto trader. And yeah, it's more configurable. You can put specific trade restrictions, like, favor my stations, or don't trade illegal wares, or don't go certain places, only go so far out, things like that. It's a really, really nice mod. Highly recommend it. Lastly, better kill credit. So receive kill credit rewards from owned ships that you aren't piloting, and receive rewards for contributing to large ship kills even if you don't get the final shot. Now you can make some decent cash by helping out a local faction with a defense fleet. Yeah. So when you're not in the vicinity of the ship that was destroyed, the video message thanking you will be suppressed. That's good. But the message will be added to the log with the amount rewarded. This is a really nice mod. In default vanilla X4, you only get the kill credit if you specifically hit that ship with the killing shot, the final shot. And very often, large ships, there's could be a dozen ships that are attacking at the same time. Well, what good is it to assist them if one of their ships gets the final shot and you get nothing? So this fixes that. So that's everything. And if I go to my extensions, you can see that I do have all of these mods installed, and the game loaded up just fine without crashing. I find that encouraging. I don't have VRO installed, just so you know. It says off here. Fire and smoke is off. I'm going to turn that on. A restart is required. That's fine. So except for VRO, which is something I plan on trying later because it's a full rebalance of everything. I have all the mods that I just listed enabled and ready to go. So let's do it.